Hello, generations, young, old, and everyone in between. Welcome to Generation Apollo, where we want to see young people laughing all the way to the bank. And today on Generation Apollo Reacts, that is exactly what's happening. For those of you who haven't been following the unprecedented upset that's been shaking Wall Street for the past week, allow me to clue you all in on what's going on, because this is absolutely the most glorious thing I have ever seen. Now, what we're seeing here is the internet rising up and giving Wall Street a black eye by playing it at its own game. How is that happening? Well, let's start with a little company called Gamestop, a well-known electronics and video game retailer that used to be a powerhouse giant in the video game world. But over the past few years, GameStop has seen its business slump massively, due in large part to the digital download trend that has shifted market share away from physical game media. So, GameStop was already circling the toilet, and then factor in the beer flu, and well, that certainly didn't help the company's situation. So, it's totally understandable that everyone thought the end is nigh for GameStop. Well, so did Wall Street, and certain players on Wall Street were hoping to make a killing by betting on GameStop's demise and shorting the stock. Now, for those of you who are completely clueless when it comes to investing, let me give you all a quick example of what, quote-unquote, shorting a stock is and how that played out here. So let's say I want to short XYZ stock because I think their company is going to fail, and so the stock price will go down. Now let's say XYZ has a current price of $10. I borrow one share from my broker and sell it immediately for $10. I now have $10, but I owe my broker the one share that I borrowed. Then let's say the price of XYZ drops to $7. I am now covering my short or buying back one share at $7, and then I return the one borrowed share to my broker. I made $10 when I sold the first time and had to pay $7 to buy it back lower, so I just made a $3 profit. But now, let's say that the price of XYZ shares goes up to $15. I still need to return the one borrowed share to my broker, except now it's going to cost me more to buy it back. Now, if I buy it back at $15, my losses will be the $5 difference from selling at $10 and buying back at $15. And since the share price can rise infinitely, my potential losses as a short seller are also unlimited. That's the risky part. The more the share price goes up, the more money I stand to lose. So, a hedge fund by the name of Melvin Capital took out a massive amount of short trades against GameStop, hoping to profit like vultures off the demise of this company. Now, this is where the internet comes in. A few weeks ago, users on a subreddit thread called Wall Street Bets noticed that Melvin Capital had taken all of these shorts against GameStop, so they pooled all their resources together, and the users bought as much GameStop stock as they possibly could, causing the share price to skyrocket to insane highs by as much as over 1,000%. This caused the short positions that Melvin Capital had against GameStop to lose billions of dollars when they had to buy back the shares at massively inflated prices, which in itself caused the stock to rise even higher in price. This is what's called a short squeeze. So now you all know, for those of you who weren't sure what the term meant. Eventually, Melvin's losses surpassed the $13 billion that the hedge fund itself was worth, thus nearly bankrupting it to the point where it needed to get a $2 billion emergency cash injection from two other hedge funds just to survive. And who profited and made all the money? The ordinary investors on Reddit, that's who. For the first time ever, we saw average people beat Wall Street at its own game, and we also saw internet activists actually affect some tangible positive results for once. But most important of all, this is yet another demonstration of just how much influence the millennial generation truly holds over our economy. Look at how many companies and industries are in danger of going under simply because millennials aren't giving them their business. But now, we also know that this generation can inflict massive damage against the Wall Street elites in a way that I never would have imagined. And now, the members of Wall Street Bets are actively looking for other stocks that are being heavily shorted in order to screw major hedge funds out of even more money, with AMC Theaters being their next major target. But Wall Street isn't taking this lying down. Oh, no. After the financial beating that Melvin Capital took, the elites went on the offensive, trying everything they could to portray the Redditors as the villains. First, they started by saying that the members of Wall Street Bets were harboring white supremacists. And they did this by using several fake user accounts to leave racist comments on their subreddit with the intention of getting it taken down for violating Reddit's terms of service. This strategy ultimately proved successful in getting the group's Discord server shut down, but luckily the group saved their subreddit just in time by setting it to private so that they could weed out and ban all the troublemakers. And when the racist tactic didn't work, well, New York University marketing professor Scott Galloway offered his own laughable theory as to why the Wall Street bet Redditors are doing this. According to him, it all boils down to sex. Yep, that's right. He thinks this was done by a bunch of single young men who want to upset the status quo just because they're angry about not getting laid.
Si no le ayuda a la fábrica, el camión le da. Yo ya cojo los tacos, los arrastrado.
Wow, just wow. So now they're scraping the bottom of the barrel and trying to pull the incel card? Jesus fucking Christ. This has to be the most boomer explanation I have ever heard. If this isn't proof positive that college is bullshit, then I don't know what is. But perhaps the most egregious tactic that the Wall Street elites have attempted in order to try and stop the financial bleeding is to block small investors from buying any more GameStop stock. Earlier yesterday, Robinhood, the investor app and brokerage firm that many of the Wall Street Bets members were using to buy stock, blocked users from making any further new purchases of GameStop shares by claiming that it was quote-unquote protecting investors from stock volatility. But it did allow users to sell any stock that they were already holding. Now, why is that important? Because if people start selling off the shares, then the stock price will drop, allowing the hedge fund guys to buy back the shares at a lower price and thus recover their fortune. So, how is the internet responding to this blatant act of market manipulation by the Wall Street elites? People are holding on to their shares and refusing to sell, thus creating a scarcity of GameStop stock to keep the prices artificially high and ensure that the hedge funds continue to lose money. Hold the line has become the new rallying cry all over social media for those who want to see the big Wall Street boys have a complete and total meltdown. And it's working, because the establishment is losing its mind. Not only that, but now Robinhood is facing some serious backlash for preventing users from buying GameStop stock and other stocks currently being shorted. There are now resounding calls from politicians from all ends of the political spectrum, including Ted Cruz and AOC. Now, if both of these politicians, being as far different from each other as you can get, can both agree on this one issue, then you know it's important. But the reason why it's so important is because this whole fiasco has exposed the fallacy of the quote-unquote free market for all to see. What Robinhood and all the other brokers that have restricted buying certain stocks have done is blatant, outright market interference. And if you need further proof of that, just look at the financial institution that not only bailed out Melvin Capital, but also bankrolled nearly half of Robinhood's revenue. Coincidence much? Well, now we know why Robinhood was suddenly simping for the rich, now don't we? And if they're allowed to get away with this without any serious repercussions, then this will prove beyond any doubt that the market truly is rigged in favor of the rich, and that us lowly plebs were never meant to benefit from the system. In other words, our faith in the very idea that this is a free and open market where everyone has a fair chance to succeed or fail is what's at stake here. This isn't about protecting everyday investors from the harms of stock volatility, nor is this about addressing the echo effects of Trump-era-inspired populism. In fact, this isn't even about saving GameStop, because, let's be honest, GameStop was a shitty company that shamelessly exploited both its customers and its employees, which is why it's dying in the first place. And it sure as hell isn't about young men not getting enough sex to keep themselves satiated so that they won't cause trouble for the establishment. No, this is a test. This is a test to see if there really is equal justice for everyone, rich or poor. This is the millennial generation's moment to potentially make the biggest stand against corruption in American history, because the very trust in our free market system is hanging in the balance. And just like GameStop stock, that trust is in danger of crashing if we do not win. And with that, I'll conclude this little video here. So, what do you all think? Are you loving this as much as I am? Is this finally the beginning of the end for the Wall Street elite class? Or will the system come to their rescue to bail out the fat cats yet again and find new ways to further subjugate the ordinary masses? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share to help my channel grow. And lastly, don't forget to also support me on alt-tech platforms to ensure that content creators such as myself can continue to have free and open voices in the face of ever-increasing internet censorship. The links to all of my other pages will be in the description. So thank you for watching, and thanks again for tuning in to Generation Apollo.